Okay. All right. Good evening. My name's Guillermo Nunez, and this is my partner Karen Salazar. And today we'll be talking about cardiovascular health and the foundation and causes of it. So, in my section, I'll cover the foundation and causes, so explaining what cardiovascular health is, how the heart and blood vessels function, the history behind what we know today, common heart diseases, key causes and risk factors, and some current statistics. After my section, my paper will continue with prevent. Oh, after my section, my partner will continue with prevention, treatment, and future developments. So let's start by understanding what cardiovascular health really means. All right, so what is cardiovascular health? Cardiovascular health refers to the condition of our heart and blood vessels and how efficiently they deliver oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. So, according to the World Health Organization, having a strong cardiovascular system supports every organ and helps prevent chronic illnesses. So, the CDC explains that when our heart vessels work efficiently, blood moves easily, blood pressure stays balanced, and energy levels remain high. So, on the other hand, poor cardiovascular health leads to higher risk for heart attack, stroke, and other complications. So, maintaining a healthy heart is really the foundation for long term wellness. Next slide. Okay, so how do the heart and blood vessels work together? So, the heart and blood vessels work together like a constant transportation system. The heart pumps oxygen rich blood through the arteries, while the veins return oxygen poor blood back to the heart. This continuous loop supplies oxygen and nutrients to every cell in the body and removes waste. Physical activity keeps this system strong, and the more efficiently your heart can pump, the less strain it experiences even during rest. So, a healthy cardiovascular system really does ensure that our brain, muscles, and organs can perform at their very best. Next slide. Okay, so why cardiovascular health matters? So, cardiovascular health affects every part of our overall wellness. Globally, heart disease remains the number one cause of death, responsible for about 18 million deaths each year, according to the World Health Organization. Good heart health lowers the risk of stroke, diabetes, and even kidney disease. It's also closely connected to mental health, better circulation, and oxygen flow, help reduce stress and fatigue. So, by protecting our heart, we're not just living longer, but improving our daily quality of life. Next slide. So, now I'm going to be diving into the historical background. So, our understanding of cardiovascular health has developed over hundreds of years. Back in 1628, physician William Harvey was the first to describe how blood circulates through the body, a major turning point in medical history. Then, in the early 1900s, the invention of the electrocardiogram, or ECG, allowed doctors to measure heart activity. And then later, between the 1950s and 1970s, breakthroughs such as pacemakers, bypass surgery, and stents changed how heart disease was treated. So, in today's day and age, we focus heavily on preventative cardiology, aiming to stop disease before it starts. Thankfully enough, though, each of these milestones have shaped how we understand and protect the heart today. Next slide. Okay, so now I'm going to be hitting cardiovascular diseases. So, looking at some of the most common cardiovascular diseases, the Cleveland Clinic identifies that four main ones, which are going to be first coronary artery disease, which is when plaque builds up and narrows arteries. The second is going to be heart attacks, which occur when blood flow to the heart is completely blocked. The third is going to be stroke, so when blood supply is part of the brain is cut off. And then the final one is going to be hypertension, or high blood pressure, which damages arteries over time. These diseases are often connected to the same lifestyle patterns, such as diet, exercise, stress, and smoking. Okay, so some of the causes and risk factors. So, according to both the World Health Organization and the CDC, most heart diseases share similar risk factors. Modifiable factors, which include smoking, poor diet, and physical inactivity, as well as high stress and obesity. Some non-modifiable factors include, things like age, sex, and family history. So even environmental and socioeconomic factors do fall into play as well, like pollution or lack of access to healthcare. which can increase the risk. The positive side is that about 80% of heart related deaths are preventable through healthy habits, which show how powerful lifestyle change can be. Next, last slide. So this is going to be hitting cardiovascular statistics in the US and the global. So looking at the numbers helps us see how serious this issue really is. In the United States, the CDC does report that 1 in every 5 deaths is due to heart disease. Globally, the World Health Organization estimates that cardiovascular disease accounts for about 32% of all deaths worldwide. The highest death rates occur in low to middle income countries where prevention resources are limited, as well as men tend to develop heart diseases earlier while women's risk rises after menopause. These statistics really do highlight why education and prevention are so critical in today's day and age.
So, just to reiterate on some of the modifiable risk factors, comes the harmful habits and behaviors that we currently have that are affecting our cardiovascular health. These include excessive drinking of alcoholic beverages. So, excessive consumption of alcoholic beverages will weaken the heart and make function erratic. Smoking of tobacco, it increases your heart rate and your blood pressure, which will also increase the risk of a heart attack and stroke. And then the chemicals that are found in tobacco smoke are more likely to cause blood clots to your heart. And then finally, sedentary behaviors. So these sedentary behaviors will help build up that excess weight that will then cause strain to your heart. And being heavier weight from these behaviors will also increase your chances of diabetes and blood pressure, which also impact your cardiovascular health. And then if you could move on to the next slide. So, and then we have ways that you can improve your cardiovascular health. So, these are just habits that can help improve it, that include being active for at least 30 minutes, eating well balanced meals, and then quitting again the excessive consumption of alcoholic beverages and tobacco. The risk of high blood pressure and diabetes increase when you are inactive, so it's recommended to be at least active for 30 minutes a day for maintaining a healthy heart. It's also recommended to eat well balanced meals and cutting back on processed foods, especially foods with high levels of saturated and trans fat and then high levels of cholesterol and sodium. It's also recommended that you incorporate vegetables, fruits, and protein rich foods and whole grains into your diet just to keep up with like a healthy, well balanced diet. And then, in addition to eating well and making sure you're active, it's also recommended that you cut back on smoking and drinking either completely or excessively. And then, it's also recommended just to make sure that everything's in line, that you're getting routine checkups to ensure your body is in good or perfect health. And then, if you can go on to the next slide. And then, again, reiterating how important being physically active is for your heart. There are different types of exercises that can help with the upkeep of your cardiovascular health. Um, Generally, any exercise is recommended more than no exercise, but the most recommended exercise would be aerobic exercise, which helps improve the circulation and cardiac output. So, some physical activities for this would include walking, running, and swimming. And then resistance training, although it doesn't specifically target cardiovascular health, it helps with your body composition and reducing fat that is a risk factor for heart disease. So, any resistance training includes free weight exercises, weight machines, and resistant band training. And then finally, flexibility workouts. Again, these aren't specific to cardiovascular health, but they do help your musculoskeletal health maintenance. And then these include any like flexible stretches, and then these are all improvements towards your physical activity, those 30 minutes of physical activity that can help your cardiovascular health. And then if you can move on to the next slide. And then finally, we have future developments for cardiovascular disease. So this includes like what's currently being found and discovered for the world of cardiovascular health. Most importantly, we have that sophisticated imaging techniques that weren't previously introduced are now being introduced into this world. Like we can view inflammation on the arterial wall. And then there are also new approaches being taken for genetic risk stratification that weren't previously being done. that can help stratify you based on different genetic like traits that you have from your family, that can help towards working on prevention rather than treatment after you have those problems. And then there's also the use and implementation of artificial intelligence now that is being introduced towards, again, risk stratification and then prevention for these cardiovascular diseases. And if you can move on to the next slide. And then we just have some interesting facts about cardiovascular health, which are your heart pumps about 1.5 gallons of blood every minute. On average, cardiovascular disease causes a death every 37 seconds. Arteries are about 4 millimeters in diameter. There are more heart attacks happening on a Monday rather than any other day of the week, and your heart beats over 100,000 times a day. So we just want to reiterate that the upkeep of your cardiovascular health is really crucial to maintaining a long and healthy life, as well as the biggest prevention and preventative measure against cardiovascular diseases such as heart attack and stroke. Heart disease is one of the top causes of death globally, and ensuring your physical wellness and taking part of these habits like daily exercise, consuming a good, well-balanced diet, and moderating your consumption of alcohol and tobacco will all play a key role in how you prevent these heart diseases from attacking you. Thank you.
And then these are our references for my first portion of our slide. And then these are the references for the second portion. Thank you so much.